So I figure put this message in a bottle out there. Um, my earliest memories of being targeted. Uh, and this, you gotta understand, back when you're a kid and you're using this artificial telepathy technology and things like that, uh, you don't know that that's what it is. I mean, there's a lot of adults walking around that they're using it on and they don't even know it. Like, hey, that wasn't my own decision, my own thought, my own whatever. But the best way to differentiate, I would say, is it comes across as intrusive. So when I trace back what I was thinking at certain instances, I have to remember the thoughts and that I was going through in those moments to differentiate what was like the artificial telepathy and what wasn't. And my earliest memory, I was 3 years old, and my aunt accused me of doing something I didn't do, something that a 3-year-old will be, let's just say, totally unaware of. Um, and I remember my mom arguing with her, like saying, what? He was just asking a question. He doesn't know, blah, 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 and whatever. I'm not going to get into detail about it, what that is and stuff. But my mom ended up leaving all pissed off at my aunt. And my aunt actually like reported my mom to like the police or something because the police fucking knock on the door and they're talking to my mom and shit. And then the police were asking me fucking, they asked to speak to me, like to come to the door, and they were asking me weird questions. And I remember my mom even saying, oh no, he's just a kid, like he was asking, he asked a question and he pointed, and she blew it way out of proportion and shit. And I remember during that time period hearing the artificial telepathy, and they said, we're gonna lie. And well, they said that first, they said we mind you controlled your aunt to react that way, and we're gonna lie and say you did it. And that was one of my first experiences at fucking 3 years old with the artificial telepathy and with the fucking uh, being accused of doing something I didn't do, or you know, the like taking an incident, let's just say, and putting a false narrative spin on it. And I just remember growing up, a lot of the Freemason kids and mobster kids and stuff, they would say, oh, this has something to do with what your uncle did, which my uncle was killed in a mysterious car wreck, ran off the road with his wife. The police never had real fucking answers for that shit. I never met him. That happened before I was even born. And they also said that, like, I remember growing up, kids saying like, "Oh, your family owes my family," like these mobster kids and shit. My family, a lot of money, which I did know that my dad had. He did. He co-owned a fucking gas station at one point, and he had a real shady business partner that, let's just say, disappeared. Um, then some of my earlier memories going back into grade school. I'm not going to give the full lifeline of mine here, but the earliest memories I remember being in kindergarten, and I had like these nervous fucking tics and just all this weird shit because I think I was already traumatized, and I would chew up because they would hand out these thick red number 2 pencils, and then they would collect them from the class every day. And I think I was like ADHD or autistic or something, and I was just like stemming, and I didn't know. And I would chew up like all the pencils, like literally chewing on wood, like, and chew them into pieces down to the fucking lead. And it got to the point where the teacher said, like, well, called in my mom, and my, she's like, this is an issue, he's chewing up all the pencils, he's blah, 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 like, and my mom had to, like, replace all the pencils, and, I don't really know why I was doing that. But I also remember them using the artificial telepathy on me in first grade. I was doing like this like art project, and they said, "Oh, that's going to mean something later on," and it was something for Valentine's Day where it said like, "I choose you." And I remember just in these past years finding that art project from first grade, and it triggered an unlocking of like different information dealing with the operation and the targeting that I'm dealing with right now. Then I remember in like third grade, at that point I was already, well, how old are you in third grade? I'm not even sure, because before that there was an incident that they brainwashed me to forget, where apparently what happened was and these are like kind of like, I know they love to gaslight people as like, oh no, these are false memories. Nah, like, trust me, they've tried to implant false memories in me. I can tell the difference, because there's correlating memories that match up to the whole thing. That makes me be able to differentiate. Because they could implant one false memory, but if your other memories don't correlate along with it, there's a good chance it was a false memory. And that's why you got to look at correlating memories as well. But anyway, might have been 6 or 7 years old, and me and my sister were abducted at night. Somehow they kept my parents sleeping, so they were already getting into our house like fucking with no forced entry, the whole the stuff that targeted individuals, gang stalkers, the gang stalking aspect, what they complain about. But like, oh, they get in my house and they move stuff around and stuff. Usually there's a purpose to it. It's not just to drive you crazy. There's more to this. But usually, like with me, it was always to take something important that they were going to use in an operation. They never actually, they would like move something maybe just to freak me out, to like, oh yeah, see, we were in here. But it wasn't like that. I would always, because I was always very organized and on point with stuff for to a certain degree. So I always would be able to establish fast when something was like taken or missing. But anyway, so apparently we were abducted. I wake up in the middle of the night in the back seat of a truck. We're driving down the highway in the Oranges, and the only reason why I know that is because when we used to go down to South Jersey and stuff like that, with my family, we used to go on this highway. But I wake up in the back seat. I look over to the left. My sister, she's like a couple years older than me. She's crying. She goes, Jay, I don't. She's like, Jason, I don't know where we are. I think we were kidnapped. I'm scared too. When they stop, we're gonna try to run when we stop somewhere or something. And there was a older dude. It was like a SUV type of truck. An older dude and woman. Well, everyone was older to me at that time. I was fucking 6 years old or some shit, But the woman in the passenger seat, she then turns around, and not just that, but I glanced over in the back of the SUV, because we were like in the back seat, and then there was another little girl in the back part, like, I guess the storage, what you would call the storage part. It was an older SUV, so you could go, you can kind of see all the way into the back and stuff. And it was like early, I guess early 90s, late 80s model kind of SUV. But anyway, the woman goes turns around and she goes, children are to be seen, not to be heard. And then all of a sudden, I think I got injected with something or something, but I just went out, like, boom, passed out again. And supposedly, like, I don't know what they did, but because I still haven't retrieved that full memory, but they brought us to some Masonic lodge, brought us into the basement somewhere out in the Oranges, and I believe they did some type of ritual or some shit. But woke up the next morning this is how I know how they did it because I was overhearing, even though I was young, I was very observant, and I overheard the woman talking to the guy, and because she's like, "We got to get them back before the parents wake up," and then the guy asked a question, and the woman like responded names of people. They were like, "Yeah, they're there, keeping them asleep," or something, and I wake up in the next morning in my bed, like nothing happened. Brainwashed me to fucking forget the memory until I recovered it at about the age of 30. And at the age of 30, when I started recovering my memories, they even said, one of these agents or whatever the fuck they are, he's like, we're unwashing you so you would understand what happened to you, like through your life and different shit. But later on, in my teenage years, I started hanging out with this girl because she was dating my friend. And it turned out that the people that kidnapped me that day as a kid was her father and his girlfriend. And her father was the police chief, Freemason police chief of one of the towns, next town over. And so that's that with and I just remember even as a kid, I was skating with my boy, and another Freemasonic cop from town was kind of like stalking us. We were just kids. We were like skater kids and shit, maybe might have been 10 years old at the time. And I remember my boy saying, he's like, bro, he's like, you were targeted by fucking like cults and different shit. And he's like, I shouldn't even be hanging out with you, because he saw the Freemason cop like just like chilling there stalking us, and he started getting nervous. And he's like, I remember him telling me, he's like, bro, just go home. He's like, go home and just like hide. I think they're coming to your house tonight. Now, I don't know how my boy knew this or whatever the fuck was going on, but I remember that night that's exactly what I did. It was bedtime, and I went into my closet, and eventually I think my mom just like went to check on me or something, and she's like, oh, where's Jay? He's not in his bed. And she opens up the closet, and she's like, get out of there. What are you doing in there? And I was like, Ma, there's people getting into the house. They said that they're coming for me, and blah, blah, blah. And no, there isn't. No, there isn't. Blah, blah, blah. And, yeah, like, fuck. It's crazy fucking shit. But then also when I was maybe like 7 or 8, I remembered a big Freemason in town. He owned a paving company and stuff, and they wouldn't play me in baseball. So my dad started like arguing with him. Like they're just kids, like let everybody play, And I remember him saying to my father, he's like, we're the Masons. We're the ones that allow you to be here. He's like, your son is a nuisance. He chewed up all the pencils in school. And just some fucking dumb shit. Dumb shit, like for adults. You know what I mean? But back then, they didn't really know about, like, people weren't as educated on kids that were, like, a little bit neuro different, let's just say. And I think I was undiagnosed autistic because even my third grade teacher pointed it out. But my mom got mad. She's like, oh, I don't want him in special ed and on medicine and blah, blah, blah. I remember her ranting after that meeting with my teacher. But yeah, that's just some of the. I don't want this video to go too long, but that's just some of my earliest experiences of as a little kid when the targeting all started. But yeah, everyone be safe. It's a fucking wild, deceptive, trickery, illusion, scripted bullshit world. So just be safe.